Hi, welcome back to No Fixing, Just Truth. Today, I want to talk about the day everything in my life shifted in a way I didn't see coming. At the time, I had been cleaning houses, one of the ways that I would make a living, kind of a jack of all trades at that point. It was December, too cold to be working outside. And that day, I had been cleaning the house of my dear friend Monica, getting it ready for the holidays. On my way home, I stopped at my daughter's apartment. I had something to drop off. We had talked about this earlier that day. She was not home, but her boyfriend, now fiance, was. I told her I wasn't planning on staying, just a quick stop, drop it off, give him a hug, and head back out. And that's exactly what I did. But as I was walking back towards my car, something didn't feel right. I sped up my walking in an attempt to make it to my car. I felt my body shift to the right as my fall began, and that was it. What I know is that somebody in that apartment complex called 911. And because of that, I received the help that I really needed the most. I often wonder who that person was. I would really like to thank them. My first memory after the fall was waking up with paramedics all around me. They were asking me simple questions. What was my name? What was the date? Where was I? Who did I know there? I knew nothing. I had thoughts in my head, but I couldn't organize them into words and to my mouth. I would try, but nothing would come out and make sense. I couldn't make a sentence. I remember looking around and seeing a large group of people just watching me. Finally, after time, I was able to say one name, Michaela. And once I said her name, the paramedics were able to get her on the phone. All I could say was, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Over and over and over again. My husband was working about 1,300 miles away with no immediate way back. I spoke to him in the ambulance, and again, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, was all I wanted to say. Seizures always brought out a kind of guilt with them. I hated it. I would apologize to everybody because I never really knew what I had just done. Later, as my awareness gradually began to return, it wasn't immediate, but over time, I remember thinking, what did my family do to deserve this? What did I do to deserve this? Because I had worked hard to rebuild a life that finally felt steady. Worked hard to build a life that finally felt steady and like it belonged to me again. And in a single moment, everything shifted. It wasn't the first time this had happened. My seizures started as a child. I was 7. They came without warning. Shortly after I was taken to the hospital for my first seizure, I was put on prescription medication. Within days, I had a severe allergic reaction to that medication. It was a near-death experience. My temperature reached 107 degrees, and back in the 80s, that was extremely serious. There had been multiple calls made trying to get me help. It was the middle of the night. And when my pediatrician didn't seem to think I needed immediate care, my dad, who was normally very quiet, reached a point he had never reached before. He told my pediatrician that if he didn't meet us at the hospital, my dad was going to drive his car through his front door. Once I reached the hospital, the doctors didn't think I was going to make it. A preacher was sent to the waiting room to sit with my parents. My seizures wouldn't stop. I was in status epilepticus. I do hope I said that right, just so you know. This means multiple seizures were happening before the first one had ended. Everything about my second trip to the hospital was very grim. I didn't know any of this at the time. I was too young to understand. What I do remember, the second day of my second trip to the hospital, I remember my Aunt Sonny giving me a cold bath, trying to bring my temperature down. I was crying, I was screaming, trying to turn the water warmer every chance I got. I also remember asking my grandparents for a Cabbage Patch Kid, something to cuddle with as I lie there in that freezing cold bed. I still have her. Her name is Alexandria. Things didn't improve after I was released from the hospital all that much. My temperature went down, but my seizures continued. Year after year after year. Test after test after test. Medicine after medicine after medicine. Growing up, seizures dictated much of my life. I couldn't drive. I couldn't play sports. I couldn't stay home alone. I couldn't shower without somebody else in there with me. I couldn't mow the lawn. I couldn't babysit the kid next door. Mom had to go on field trips with me. I couldn't go to parties like a normal teenager. And honestly, a lot of boys were scared of me. I remember having seizures at school, in science class, even in gym class while we were out running the mile. And sometimes people didn't fully understand how serious it was, including teachers. That was my normal for a long, long time, until I was 17, when I had my first brain surgery. And for many years after that, the seizures were gone, which is why when they returned, everything in my life changed again. And please remember, this podcast isn't about fixing ourselves. It's about telling the truth as it becomes clearer. If you pray, may I suggest you pray for peace while clarity continues to unfold. I look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.